For years, the man in the blue Oldsmobile has been the bridesmaid, the perennial number 2. But yesterday, on the strength of 7 national event wins, the Professor, as he's known, achieved a lifelong goal. Warren Johnson has been crowned the 1992 Winston Pro Stock Champion. By contrast, 2 funny car combatants have locked horns in a gritty battle to the finish. Defending champion John Force has experience and determination. Cruz Pendragon has the momentum. Force is vowed to burn it to the ground if necessary, and has. But 4 consecutive event victories have given Cruz the points lead. In Top Fuel, a couple of veterans have swapped the lead for the last 4 events. Joe Amato is struggling with a new crew chief and engine combination, while Kenny Bernstein fights for round-by-round consistency. Joe's 5th Winston Championship is well within reach, while Kenny could be the first driver ever to be crowned in Top Fuel and Funny Car. The quarter-mile drama plays itself out next on one of the true super tracks, the Texas Motorplex in Dallas, Texas. TNN Motorsports proudly presents, live from the Texas Motorplex outside Dallas, Texas, coverage of the professional finals of the 7th annual Cheap Auto Parts Nationals. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans, and all you drag racing fans know this man, Pro Stock star Warren Johnson. Now, Warren clinched the Winston Championship just by qualifying here. Why is he down here, though, with me right now with the finals moments away? Well, you ran into a guy named Scott Jeffrey on in the Final 4.
Yeah, unfortunately, the driver of the AC Delco Oldsmobile went into brain fade in the semis, and Scott proceeded to get to the finals because of it. But we did accomplish what we came here to do, was to win the Winston World Championship, and we're happy for that.
Been a great season.
No doubt about it. It's the best season I've had.
Good luck at Pomona in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Steve.
Now, Scott Jeffrey on in the 2nd round, he beat Bruce Allen before, of course, hole-shotting Warren Johnson. Now, who does Scott face in the final? How about the Ford of Bob Glidden? Glidden dropped Vince Curry in the 2nd round, and the Final 4 beat his own kid, Rusty Glidden, to go up against Scott Jeffrey in the final to come. How about Funny Car? Here's my pal Brock Yates.
Well, Steve, while we've settled Pro Stock here, we have sent Funny Car into the high stratosphere of drama. In terms of the championship, not only do we have this race at stake, but we've got the whole Winston Championship possibly on the line as Cruz Pendragon and John Force, arch rivals all season, face each other. Now, here is the way it works. Cruz Pendragon beat Jack Wyatt in the 1st round, then went by Mark Oswald with that enormous crash in the 2nd round, then put away Al Hoffman with a 5:09, the quick run of this day. Force came back, beating Norman Wilding in the 1st round, Del Worsham in the 2nd, and then trying to better Cruz Pendragon's time of 5:09, put down a 5:10 in an attempt to get lane choice. Fell just a wink short. So, as we go into this championship round, everything at stake for both of these men. Going to be a fascinating race. But we've got even more, and that is in Top Fuel. And for that, let's go to Bob Fry.
Well, Brock, Top Fuel has seen everything today, from wheel stands to blowovers, blowouts, and blowups. And amazingly enough, the 2 cars that have survived to meet in the finals have made a total of 6 passes, and their slowest run has been a 487. Ed McCullough has made an outstanding day of it today with a 485, 486, and 486, taking out in the opening round. Pat Austin had the solo in the 2nd when Gene Snow could not return after the crash, and then beat current Winston points leader Joe Amato in the semis to get into the final round. Eddie Hill, meanwhile, on the other side of the ladder, took out a wheel-standing Jim Head, a troubled Corey McClanathan, and an overmatched, at least for today, Shelly Anderson. He's gone 482, 487, and 483. Not since the race in Gainesville earlier this year, when he put together 4 straight 480 runs, have we seen Eddie Hill this dominant. And, of course, he went on to win that race in Gainesville, even though most people will remember it for Bernstein's 300-mile-an-hour shot. Eddie Hill still with a mathematical shot to win the Winston Championship, meets Ed the Ace McCullough in the finals.
Now, our finals are coming to you a bit late because of a lot of incidents, and some of that grease sweep played a role in the Kenny Bernstein story. Kenny had earned 200 bonus points by setting a brand new national elapsed time record, and he was competent going into the 2nd round against Shelly Anderson. Bernstein in the far lane. This was critical. He needed 200 more points for a round victory. He lapped hard, but suddenly lost traction. The engine over-revved, the engine blew, and Kenny Bernstein's hopes here in Dallas took a fiery turn. Kenny was okay, but he lost the points lead to Joe Amato, who survived round 2.
This special presentation of American Sports Cavalcade is being brought to you by Valvoline. People who know, use Valvoline.
Well, I can't remember the last time there wasn't a General Motors product in the Pro Stock Final, but there you see the Dodge driven by Scott Jeffreyon. He will be up against the Ford Probe of Bob Glidden when we come back with the Pro Stock Final. Stay with us, everybody. Late, but still live from Ennis, Texas. With the sun saying adios here in the Southwest, we're back with our live coverage of the final rounds here at the NHRA Cheap Auto Parts Nationals. Now, Bob Glidden has a performance edge going in. In the previous round, he beat his own son, as we told you, with a fine 7-14. But he better be worried about his opponent's driving. Scott Jeffreyon has been practicing his reaction times, going through intensive training at the Roy Hill Drag Racing School down in Rockingham, North Carolina. And he cut a light, as we told you earlier, against Warren Johnson to put the newly crowned Pro Stock champion back in his trailer. This could be a fantastic final round. In fact, earlier, just before they got in the cars, Brock Yates talked to both of them.
Scott, your driving is really sharpened up this year, and of course you got the vaunted Dodge power, but you're going against a man with probably as much canny and savvy and experience as anybody in the history of Pro Stock racing. How are you going to approach this race on that basis?
Well, it sure is true that he does have all that experience, but between David Hutchins in this camp and the help of Roy Hill, I mean, they're trying to put about 40 years experience into my head in a short period of time, so hopefully they've given me enough to get by this round.
Bob, you're going against a young man whose driving has really sharpened up this season, and also he's got that kind of wanted Dodge power, but you've got, of course, the years and years of experience in a car that seems to be running stronger every day. How do you feel about this race?
Well, of course, I'm really happy that we're in the finals. Scott's been runner-up, I think, at about half the races this year. He's capable of winning any race at any time. In order for us to win, I'll have to do a good job driving, and we'll have to make a good run down the racetrack.
Well, with the sun going down and the track cooling off a bit, it's going to have improved traction, and that may be a big advantage for the short wheelbase Dodge of Scott Jeffreyon. What do you think, Brock Yates, back in the booth?
Well, Steve, I think we can beat the cliche horse to death here by saying this is a classic confrontation between the old pro and the young lion. But as we look through the windshield of Scott Jeffreyon's car, let's take a look at that Ford Probe. Actually, there were two of them, of course, here today. And perhaps the big news, as far as Bob Glidden was concerned, was the performance of his son, Rusty, who, as you said, put away in the semifinals. But Rusty beat both Larry Morgan and Don Beverly. An extraordinary performance by that young man as we watch Scott Jeffreyon and Bob Glidden do their burnouts. Going to be a fantastic race here between these two gentlemen. Let's get on to Bob Fry for a look up close.
Steve had a good observation about the sun going down and it's getting cooler, but both drivers, right before they fired up the cars, told me that this track gets a little slippery down at about the 800-foot mark. Get a little bit out of the groove and you could be in big trouble. They are shorter wheelbase cars, and this race was decided on the starting line area. Glidden's Motorcraft machine looking for his first championship win in the last 5 races. Scott Jeffreyon for the first this year. But the Mopar car had problems in the finals at Topeka when they had the lane choice. This time, Dave and Mike told me they were glad they didn't have to make the decision on which lane to pick. Steve?
Well, Glidden had the lane choice via the quicker elapsed time from the previous round, and as you see, the bright red Ford Probe has taken the far or right-hand lane. You're absolutely right. It's a little slicker in the near lane. 2,350 pounds, about 1,300 horsepower, racing gasoline, 5-speed transmissions. The finals of Pro Stock is just seconds away. Jeffreyon is fading. Something has happened to the Jeffreyon car, or he lost traction in that slick spot. Rusty Glidden goes mad. His father has won it with a 7.15. Let's go down to Bob Fry on the starting line.
This is one happy crew. The red team here is ecstatic with the performance of this race car. Eddie got a smile that kind of tells the whole story.
Yes, it's been a really tough weekend. We went from not being qualified to the last minute getting in, and then Rusty going 2 rounds, and Bob winning the race, and it's been a really tough, long weekend, and we're really thrilled. And Scott is doing an excellent job. He's a good kid.
Great performance by the Ford here today.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Let's take a look at this one again on the replay. Brock?
Okay, Bob. Well, actually, Scott caught a nearly perfect light in the near lane, but it wasn't enough as something broke on the car. And keep in mind that Bob Glidden, this is his 116th final in NHRA competition, and he's won 82 of them. How about that for a winning percentage? An awesome performance by this man as he goes on to yet another victory. Let's get on to Steve with the winner.
Well, Bob, you've won a lot, but this one you'll never forget. A lot of great things happened.
Sure did, Steve. You know, we just got in by the skin of our teeth the last qualifying run, both cars. And as we went through the race, Rusty came right through, and we ended up running each other in the semifinals. And, you know, it's another one of these dream come true deals, you know.
You bet a 7-15 to cap it off.
7:15, that's good. I mean, really, when you win, it doesn't really matter what you run. Or at least that's the way we look at it. A win's a win, and we're tickled to death.
We're happy for you. Okay, Brock Yates.
Well, Steve, let's take a quick look at the points, as, of course, Warren Johnson has already clinched. Scott Jeffrion does not do anything with that defeat other than move up a few points. But Bob Glidden, he moves up a bit on Don Beverly in that number 5 spot.
Okay, so Bob Glidden moves up in the points, and here's a man that hopes to do the same thing. This is John Forrest, the two-time and reigning Winston champion, and he will be up against this man. He calls it the hamburger from hell car, Cruz Pendergon. Stay with us as the two greatest in funny car racing go head-to-head. We'll be right back here on TNN.